Newly elected ANC leaders in KwaZulu-Natal visiting former President Jacob Zuma at his home in Nkandla today. They're doing so a month after being elected at the party's provincial conference. Zuma, who is on medical parole, still faces corruption charges linked to the arms deal. Last month, the new ANC KZN top 5 visited former President Thabo Mbeki. For more on this story, senior reporter Siphamandla Goge joins us now. Sipa, what is the ANC hoping to get out of the meeting with the former president? Is it an exercise in visibility, or do you think that the claims that they want to get some insights into, his leadership style and the intricacies of ANC governance, is that credible enough?
It's a combination of both, really. They want to be seen to be doing something to support former President Jacob Zuma. As per their conference resolutions, they were mandated by the conference to continue showing support to the former president. They did announce this visit a while ago, saying they will be undertaking visits to former ANC presidents. Not only former ANC presidents, by the way. For context, it is important for us to unpack the fact that when they were just elected, they said they were going to visit former ANC presidents, but other key strategic stakeholders in KwaZulu-Natal. Those include Amazulu King, Misuzulu Gazwelithini, whom they visited, I think, about 3 weeks ago. Also, the Nazareth Baptist Church, popularly known as Shembe, they visited that church about a week ago. They met with the leader of the powerful and dominant faction of Ebuhleni, Unyazi Lwezulu, Inkosi Mduduzi Shembe. They also met with former President Thabo Mbeki, I think, in July. So now they are meeting with former President Jacob Zuma. They have said they will be meeting with other leaders and former leaders of the ANC. Those include former Deputy President Kgalema Motlanthe as well. So it's not surprising that they are visiting the former president. Of course, their critics will accuse them of being factional and of saying, how can they visit someone who's facing serious corruption charges? We know that the former president is on parole, but they did commit to this visit just after their election. They say they are fulfilling that as we speak, because according to them, former President Jacob Zuma still has a lot to contribute in terms of ANC politics. He remains a dominant political player in the ANC politics in KwaZulu-Natal. Whether you like him or not, he's still popular and powerful within the ANC politics in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. It's difficult for any ANC leadership in the province to successfully lead the organization if that leadership is perceived to be anti or not supportive of former President Jacob Zuma. The previous leadership of the ANC, led by former Chairperson Zikalala and Mtumseni Ntuli, former provincial secretary, will attest to the fact that some of the reasons they were put out of that leadership of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal, it was this, they were perceived as being anti or not supportive of former President Jacob Zuma anymore. So for ANC leadership in KwaZulu-Natal, there is political mileage to be derived by visiting former President Jacob Zuma. Yes, some people will say he's the former president of the ANC. What role can he play? He has had his time, and others will accuse him of not leading properly. But the ANC leadership in KwaZulu-Natal argues that, well, he still has a lot to contribute. They have a lot to learn from him. By the way, before he ascended to the ANC's top job, he was the leader of the ANC in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, so he knows this province, and the current leadership of the ANC is of the view that they can draw something from him in terms of political wisdom and guidance, and they are hoping that their engagements with him will center around how to navigate difficult challenges in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, but also talk about 2024 general elections. We do know for a fact that the ANC in KZN is under siege. They are losing the electoral support. They are registering the electoral decline, and that is evident by the fact that 2021 local government elections, they did not do well in some municipalities that were retained by the IFP, and in 2019 they registered electoral decline in this province of KwaZulu-Natal. But one also is of the view that they may talk about the issue of the upcoming ANC elective conference in December. I do not see how they can meet with him barely 3 or 4 months before the elective conference in December and not have any political discussion around that. Of course, the meeting is a private meeting between the leadership of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal and the former president. Later on, members of the Provincial Working Committee of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal will join, and all 11 regions of the ANC in the province will also form part of the meeting in the afternoon. I've already spotted the regional chairperson of the ANC in Herikwala region, Zamo Nxumalo, leading a delegation that has entered former President Jacob Zuma's home. So at the center of it, really, the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal says, well, they want to engage with the former president. They want to seek wisdom and counsel from him. That is political wisdom. Let's take a listen to their provincial secretary, Bheki Mtolo, explaining.
You will know that President Zuma, it's a former president of the ANC, he's a former head of state, but he's got a lot of experience from the underground structures of the ANC, from exile experience, and then to work with all stakeholders in society, various political parties. You remember when he dealt with the issues of bringing peace to KwaZulu-Natal, working with people who are prominent, like Dr. Nelson Mandela, working with Ushenge, Umdalanga Phindangene. They were able to say, no, let's put beyond the interests of our political parties because the country needs us now. We need to put the past behind us, and they were able to sit down as leaders, and then they bring peace about in KwaZulu-Natal. Today we are here in Nkandla, we are living in a free country, in a free province because of their efforts. Then we want to get all those things and then tell us how to navigate with those complex situations, because those things are not easy. Then as a new leadership, as a young generation, we ought to temper from that wisdom, and it's important for us.
Siphamandla, there's been mixed reaction from within the ANC itself as to whether this kind of a visit is appropriate, in terms of the fact that former President Jacob Zuma is still facing charges related to corruption in that arms deal years ago. How has the leadership, newly elected leadership of the ANC in KZN reacted to that statement, that perhaps given these charges still lingering around the former president, that his legacy is not one that is conducive to including him in current political affairs?
They've dismissed such criticism. They say it's unfounded, it's unfair, because according to them, former President Jacob Zuma still has a lot to contribute. They say they understand that criticism, but they do not think that it's fair and appropriate at this stage, simply because they say they've announced this visit a long time ago, and former President Jacob Zuma is not the only former leader of the ANC they are visiting. They say they've visited former President Thabo Mbeki in Gauteng, Johannesburg, and they will continue to engage with other leaders of the ANC. So therefore, they are of the view that there is nothing wrong with this move to visit the former president, even though there are critics, including some members of the National Executive Committee of the ANC, who have said, how can they visit someone who's facing serious charges, someone who's accused to be at the center of state capture in South Africa, and all the allegations that have been leveled against the former president? Well, the ANC leadership in KwaZulu-Natal saying, be that as it may, they are of the view that the former president has been ill-treated and that he still has a lot to contribute. I even asked them if they will be mobilizing supporters who will be going to the Pietermaritzburg High Court to support him when his corruption trial starts. They said, well, of course, we will do so. We will, as the officials of the ANC, go to court to support him. But most importantly, members of the ANC will be encouraged from going to court and show their support to the former president up until the finalization of all the legal challenges and legal cases that the former president is facing. And their provincial secretary, Bheki Mtolo, says the legacy of the former president has to be preserved. And of course, that is a conference resolution of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal, which said they need to honor the legacy of former President Jacob Zuma, but preserve it. Let's take a listen.
No, it's not about his legacy not being preserved. You remember in 2012, the ANC adopted a program where were going around all over the country and preserving the legacy of all ANC former president. It's a continuation of that program. And then you'd know that when he came into government in 2009, one of the massive things he did, President Zuma's administration, he spent about 1 trillion in infrastructure development, focusing on rural development. He rolled out a massive ARV program. He built 2 universities within a short space of time. He increased the NSFAS funding around, I think, from around 3 billion to 15 billion, the access to higher education. Then it's a legacy that it can. But beyond that, you remember he served 10 years in Robben Island, fighting for the people of South Africa, bringing about justice to our country. And he left the country. He really did everything for us to be free today.
Siphamandla, before I let you go, I want to ask you about the former president's health. We know he is on medical parole. He's of an advanced age. His lawyers, during that medical parole appeal, saying that he's terminally ill and that's why he should be granted a medical parole. Today seems to be a long day filled with many meetings, a lot of activity. Have his spokespeople said anything about the state of his health?
Not yet. We've been unable to get a comment from those who speak for former President Jacob Zuma, but we spoke to some family members who did come out. They said he is inside his home. He doesn't have any movements as he's out on parole, so he is confined inside his home most of the time. So they said he's inside waiting to receive the visitors who come to visit him, and some of his family members have told us that it's not only political guests or visitors who come to Nkandla to see him. Even ordinary people come here to seek some help. In fact, one of the former president's relatives was telling me about an hour ago that I think about a day or 2 ago, some people from Nkandla came here to seek assistance and to ask the former president to intervene because they needed some assistance in terms of burying their loved ones. They have lost 2 family members and they need assistance with that, but also they need assistance with having children taken care of and continuing with their studies. And they said the former president attended to them and asked family members to assist in that regard. So the point they were trying to make was that the former president continues to receive people either who come here to see him or to ask for help, or even those who come here just to discuss politics, because at the end of the day, he's a politician. So we do hope that at least we'll get an opportunity just to get inside when the former president meets with the members of the Provincial Working Committee of the ANC and the 11 regions of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal, because I saw a marquee being put up inside there, and the likelihood is that he's going to address them inside that marquee. But for now, he's meeting with the 5 officials of the ANC in KZN. That is the chairperson, deputy chairperson, provincial secretary, deputy provincial secretary, as well as provincial treasurer. According to the status of his health, we can only establish that and find out from those who speak for him. But family members have said he looks relatively okay.
Thank you very much. That was senior reporter Siphamandla Goge.